Chapter 267. Large battles are taking place one after another in different arenas, with a vast audience from various tribes gathered around, covering a wide area filled with diverse races. The stone giant, leveraging its enormous size, raised its massive arm toward the sky, intending to use a powerful move to defeat its opponent. Below it stood the shadow tiger, the stone giant's current opponent. The stone giant is currently ranked 9th, while the shadow tiger holds the 10th rank, making this a very evenly matched battle. Suddenly, a flash of purple light appeared, instantly severing the stone giant's massive arm at a speed invisible to the naked eye. The stone giant's large arm crashed down onto the arena, causing the ground beneath to shatter into pieces, leaving a loud, booming sound. In that moment, the shadow tiger appeared right in front of the stone giant, who had just lost an arm. Shock and fear were evident on the stone giant's face. The shadow tiger then used a special technique, creating a clone of itself. Its face emitted a murderous aura, as if ready to tear its prey apart, an instinctive behavior, as tigers are cold-blooded animals that show no mercy to their prey. The shadow tiger and its clone began preparing to unleash their dark breath attack, with purple light gathering at their mouths, aimed directly at the stone giant. Their cold, unforgiving eyes locked onto the target, while the stone giant stood frozen, seemingly unaware of what was about to happen. Moments later, the purple light was unleashed, hitting the titan's enormous body, causing it to lose its balance and fall backward. The ground behind the stone giant, struck by the purple light, also began to crack and break apart. Though the stone giant's massive body was enormous, it could not withstand the shadow tiger's breath attack and collapsed heavily to the ground, surrounding the area with a cloud of dust and debris. The stone giant's face, having endured the power of the shadow tiger, had half of its protective stone layer shattered, revealing its true body inside. Its mouth twisted in pain as it groaned in agony. The shadow tiger, confident in its victory, strode over the stone giant with great authority, its sharp, purple claws exposed on its paws. Approaching the stone giant's face, it bared its fangs, preparing to unleash its dark breath directly at the stone giant's head. Threateningly, it growled, "If you don't surrender, the only option left is to blow your body and your core to pieces." Having no other choice for survival, the stone giant surrendered to the shadow tiger, its face filled with helplessness and admiration. "I surrender," it said, standing nearby with Ching Chong. The buffalo demon had watched the entire battle between the shadow tiger and the stone giant. Neither showed any surprise at the shadow tiger's victory, as though it was expected. The buffalo demon simply remarked, "That shadow tiger guy wins again." In another arena, a battle between two beasts was taking place. Facing off was a mutated butterfly, its 6 wings emitting blinding golden light directly at its opponent. Its opponent was a member of the panda tribe, standing there with his mouth agape, visibly flustered by the golden light emitted by the mutated butterfly. "What special move should I use in this situation?" he muttered. But there was no way the mutated butterfly would just stand there waiting for the panda to choose a move. The golden beams shot directly at the panda, without any hindrance, causing his body to start bleeding as he cried out in pain. With just one powerful strike, the mutated butterfly won the battle without taking any damage. It successfully rose to the number 2 spot in the rankings, while the panda, after enduring the butterfly's attack, collapsed unconscious on the spot. Old Panda Joe, watching from outside, stood with his mouth wide open, seeing his fellow tribe member defeated. He thought to himself, "Now how am I supposed to explain this to the panda boss?" The golden ant had also watched the battle between the mutated butterfly and the panda, and couldn't help but remark, "The mutated butterfly's strength truly deserves the 2nd rank." Not only did it praise the mutated butterfly, but it also criticized the panda's subordinate, saying that the pandas were too weak, which justified their loss, unlike the golden ant's own subordinates. However, after boasting for just a few moments, the golden ant turned around to witness one of its own kin suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of a small electric rat. The electric rat's victory over the red ant earned it the 13th spot in the rankings. The golden ant seemed shocked by its kin's defeat, flying off to a corner in a gloomy mood. "Don't mind me, I just want to be left alone," it muttered, which prompted Thorn to come over and offer some consolation. Meanwhile, old Panda Geo was struggling with how to explain the recent loss to the panda boss. On the other side, the panda boss, still unaware, was in high spirits, believing victory was already theirs. "Hello? Did you win yet? When will the 1,000-year-old bamboo you owe me be sent over?" he asked. Old Panda Geo could only bow his head in embarrassment, replying, "The number you're trying to reach is no longer in service." The electric rat, filled with pride and fueled by the cheers of its fellow rat tribe members, celebrated its victory over the red ant, basking in the admiration of its subordinates. Suddenly, a powerful green explosion erupted nearby, accompanied by a cloud of smoke, causing the electric rat to stumble backward in shock. It seemed like an intense battle was raging in one of the other arenas. The electric rat stood up, its face filled with frustration, not understanding what was happening over there. It wasn't just the electric rat. Everyone's attention had shifted toward arena number 7. Something extremely interesting was happening, drawing the attention of all the mutated beasts, including the buffalo demon, the fire fox, and Ching Chong. Even the black dragon, an incredibly powerful beast, had turned its gaze toward the arena. There was a high possibility that a member of the Dragon Clan was involved in the fight. Before their eyes, a human figure was being pushed back in battle, and that person was Longer. His body was covered in numerous wounds, with dust and smoke swirling around him. This was clearly a brutal battle. Blood was still flowing from his injuries, which was unsurprising given that his opponent was the top-ranked mutated beast. Despite the damage he had taken, Longer showed no signs of surrender or fatigue. His eyes were filled with a murderous intent and unwavering determination. The fight had clearly reached its climax. His opponent, the Arctic Fox, ranked number 1, had eyes just as fierce as Longer's. They were cold and sharp, but there was no hint of underestimating the human before it. The Arctic Fox likely knew that Longer was still holding back his true power. Even the Ninetails was intently watching the battle, as it involved one of its fox kin. The Arctic Fox had grown so strong because it had consumed the spiritual grass granted by the divine tree. It had the potential to break through to the 4th level, but for some reason, it had restrained itself from doing so, possibly to participate in this particular battle. In a distant part of the arena, the Arctic Fox's older brother sat calmly, watching the fight between his younger sister and the human. His face showed no sign of concern, as if he had absolute confidence that the Arctic Fox would win. Back in the arena, the Arctic Fox had a significant advantage in size over Long. The aura of killing intent it emitted was overwhelming, and it seemed to dominate both in strength and presence. The Arctic Fox thought if this continues, it's not going to be a fair fight. It's like an adult fighting a child. Then it shouted, "Surrender, human. You cannot win." But Longer, with his resolute gaze, remained determined never to surrender. His fighting style dictated that he would battle to the very end, and he still hadn't used all of his strength. In his mind, he was hesitating, unsure if he should tap into that hidden power. Suddenly, a dragon-shaped spirit appeared beside Long and spoke, "Longer, let's fight together. We have no other choice." It seemed that Longer had decided to unleash his final power. Longer began tapping into his true strength, and a determined expression appeared on his face, his eyes starting to glow. "Honestly, I didn't want to use this power, but..." An intense, bright orange light began to radiate from Longer's body, signaling the emergence of a new form. It was clear that this time, he was determined to win at all costs. Longer spoke. "You said I would lose, didn't you?" His eyes now fully glowed with brilliance, and his face brimmed with confidence as he shouted, "That's something that might not happen." The expression on the Arctic Fox's face suddenly changed, its eyes widening as it sensed an impending danger. Meanwhile, the black dragon, observing from afar, finally understood why there was a familiar feeling within Longer. It turned out that the power Longer possessed came from having consumed a dragon's essence. The blinding orange light continued to radiate from Longer's body. The The divine tree seemed to recognize the immense power emanating from Longer, so much so that it shattered the space around it and returned to witness the battle firsthand. The divine tree's appearance caused a stir among many present, as some had never seen the divine tree before. Back in the arena, the power surging from Longer was so intense that it sent an orange beam shooting straight into the sky. The three-faced tribe members, who thought they would never witness the divine tree again, were astonished. The divine tree appeared in haste, asking, "Am I late? Or does it hurt?" The orange light surrounding Long had now transformed into the shape of a full-fledged dragon, with red sparks emanating from its body. His wounds seemed to have vanished, and his eyes now radiated confidence, as though he had taken full control of the battle. The overwhelming force was pressing down on the Arctic fox, stripping it of the confidence it once had at the beginning of the fight. The divine tree had come specifically to observe the battle between Longer and the Arctic fox. Intrigued by the human, the divine tree noted that something was special about him. "There's dragon blood flowing in him," it pondered. How did he come to possess it? Longer's spiritual power continued to surge, reaching the pinnacle of the third level, and he showed no sign of stopping. Suddenly, two dragon wings sprouted from Longer's back, and his hands transformed into dragon-like claws. His eyes, filled with killing intent, locked onto the Arctic fox as he flew toward it at incredible speed. Longer's pupils, which had once been orange, now turned blood red, resembling those of a dragon, radiating an intense aura of bloodlust. The Arctic fox suddenly sensed something was terribly wrong, fear flashing across its face. In an instant, Longer was hovering right above the Arctic fox, one arm fully transformed into a dragon's claw, preparing to unleash a powerful strike straight at the Arctic fox. All that followed was a massive, devastating red explosion. End of Chapter 267.